Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Loa. In this video I'm going to show you how to draft and cut this beautiful dress with a princess start bustier and a built-up neckline. So if this is something you're interested in learning, please stick around and watch this video to the end because I'll be sharing everything I can on this dress. If you are seeing me for the first time and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do well to subscribe, give my video a thumbs up, and also feel free to leave your questions and your comments in the comment section. Thank you very much guys. Now let's get started. So these are the measurements I'll be using for this tutorial. This is the bust measurements, the waist, the hip measurement, which is not necessary, the front waistline, and then the back waistline. So you make sure you measure this out separately because it can differ for a lot of people. For some it can appear the same, and for some it will have difference like this one. Then this is the length of the skirt, that is from the waist to where you want the skirt to be, the dress to be. Then this is the bust point, and then the under bust, the across back, which is the shoulder to shoulder, and then the armhole circumference. Now I'm going to draft out the front pattern of this dress, that is the bustier top, the front pattern. So first thing I'm going to do is to create a margin of about 2.5 inches or 3 inches. So I'm going to be using 2.5 inches for this. I'm just going to create a margin there, and then from that margin I'll start to take my measurements. So I'm going to take my chest line measurements. I usually use my armhole divided by 2. Then I'm going to take my bust point measurements, the under bust measurements, and then the front waistline measurements. So I'll do the same thing at the other side. Then I'm going to connect together. Now I'm going to go ahead to label this. This is the shoulder line, this is the chest line, the bust point, the under bust, the front waistline, and then this side is the center front, so that is the side unfold, and that is the side front. Now I'm going to measure out my across back, which is the shoulder to shoulder divided by 2 on the shoulder line and then the chest line. Then I'm going to connect that together. Now I'm going to come down by 1 inch on the shoulder line, and then whatever I have left I'll divide by 2 and mark that point. So from that point I'm going to be taking 0.75. Now on the chest line I'll be measuring out the bust measurement divided by 4. So I have my bust as 38 divided by 4, which is 9.5. So I'm going to connect those 3 points together to get the armhole curve. Now I'm going to take my neckline measurement. For this neckline measurement you have to be very careful so that you won't take something that is too wide, because by the time you are done sewing the built up neckline you have too much gaping. So if you can just measure out the neckline measurement that you want to take on your body, or just use something of about 2.5 to 3 inches depending on your size. So for this I later went ahead to use about 2.5 inches. So you make sure you just measure out around the neckline to know how wide you want it to be. It shouldn't be too wide. So I've connected the neckline, then I'm going to also connect the shoulder slant. Now I'm going to take my bust span, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. So I have 8 inches, and then I'm going to divide by 2, which is 4 inches. I'll take it from the chest line down to the front waistline, and then I'll connect together. Towards the center front I'll come in by 0.5, and then towards the side front I'm going to come out by 1.5 inches. So I'm going to do the same thing on the under bust, and then I'll connect together. Now after connecting that, I'll use my French curve to connect from the under bust to the bust points. So since we are using a princess dart, I'll be connecting from my bust point with a curve to the middle of the armhole. Now to prevent gaping at the armhole area, I'm going to go in by 0.5 on both sides. So I'll be taking 0.5 on both sides, so that is 1 inch altogether. Then I'm going to connect that back into the bust points. Now while connecting this one, I'm going to extend it a little bit there so as to replace that 1 inch that we took there and replace it on that part. So that is going to be the new point of the armhole. Then I'll be connecting it back into the chest line. So this previous armhole is now useless, and this is the one we'll be cutting out. Now I already have my bust measurement on the chest line. Then I'm going to be taking my waist measurement divided by 4 on the waistline, and whatever I have there I'm going to replace it back on the waistline. So I have about 2 inches. Then I'll be connecting down from the chest line to the waistline. The next thing to do is to take the side dart. So I have my front waistline as 17 inches and the back waistline as 15 inches. So the difference between that is 2 inches. So I'll be taking the 2 inches on the bust point at the side, then I'll be connecting it back into the bust point at the middle. So these are the parts that I'll be cutting out of the pattern paper. Now let's move on to the built up neckline. So from this part here I'm going to draw out an extended line. I'm going to use about 2 inches. So you can use as much as 3 inches, depends on how how you want the neckline to be. So 2 inches is just perfect for me, and then I'm going to connect into that neckline there. Now, to avoid a sharp edge and on the shoulder slant, I'm just going to draw out a curve like that to meet the shoulder slant. So from that 2 inches, I'll draw out a curve. Now I'm going to measure out how deep I want my neckline to be. So I'm going to be leaving it at 7 inches. Then I'll be connecting from that extended line down to the 7 inches. So that is going to be the neckline for this front pattern. So I'm going to be using my curve to connect down to that 7 inches. So I have this as my front pattern. So I decided to go in with another curve just to see how it is, and then I'm going to be using this new curve that I went in by. So I just wanted the curve to come out more. That is why I went in with another curve. So guys, this is it for the front pattern. Then I'll go ahead to cut out what I have. Then I'll also cover up that side that I'm going to close up the side that I have there. Then after closing up the side that, I'm going to connect the lines again. So this is it for the front pattern, and then you can see the essence of taking in the 1 inch on the armhole area. So you can see that now they align well together. Now I'm going to go on to draft out the back pattern of this top area. So I'm going to be using 1 inch for my zip allowance, and then I'm going to connect that together with a straight line. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on the front pattern for this one too. I'm going to be coming down by 2.5 inches as the margin. Then I'm going to connect that together. Then from that margin, I'll be taking the chest line and then the back waistline measurement. So the chest line, which remains my armhole measurement, divided by 2. And then I'm going to mark it and also take the back waistline measurement, which is 15 inches. So that is different from the front waistline measurement. So I'm going to do the same thing at the other side, then I'll connect together. So I have this as my shoulder line, this is the chest line, and then this is the back waistline. I'm also going to label this part as the center back. So this line is the center back line. Now from this center back line, that is where I'll be taking my measurements. So I'm going to take my across back measurements divided by 2 on the shoulder line and then on the chest line. Then I'm going to connect together. From the shoulder line, I'll come down by 1 inch, and then whatever I have left, I'll divide by 2, mark that point. Then from that point, I'll take in 0.5. Now on the chest line, I'm going to be taking my bust measurement divided by 4. So I'll be taking it from the center back line. Then I'm going to connect those 3 points together to create my armhole curve. Now I'm going to take my neckline measurements, how wide I want the neckline to be. So don't forget that I said you can measure out yourself, or you can just take as low as 2.5 to 3 inches. Then I'm going to come down by 1 inch here, and then I'll connect the neckline and also connect the shoulder slant. From this center back line here, I'm going to be going in by 1 inch because of the back, which is not straight. Back is slightly curved, so I'm going to be going in by 1 inch there, and also connect it into the chest line, and also do the same thing at the other side. Then for my dart at the back, I'm going to be using the bust span, the same thing I used for the front pattern, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. So you take it from the center back line. Then I'm going to be coming in by 0.5 inch on both sides, and I'm going to connect it. Now I already have my bust measurement on the chest line. Then I'm going to proceed to take my waist measurements too. From that new zip allowance there, my waist measurement divided by 4 plus this 1 inch for that, so that is 8 inches, and plus 1 inch, that is 9 inches altogether. Then I'm going to connect from the chest line to the waistline. So for the built up neckline at the back pattern, the same thing I did for the front, I'll be extending with 2 inches on the neckline area. Then I'll also connect with a curve on the shoulder slant, so that shoulder slant won't come out too sharp. I'm going to connect that with a curve. So after doing the shoulder slant, I'm going to also do the neckline for the back. So from that point there, from the 2 inches that we came up by, I'm just going to connect a curve like that. So that is going to be the neckline for the back pattern. So you can ignore this one, and this is the new neckline that we are going to be cutting out for this built up neckline. Now guys, this is it for the back pattern. Then I'm going to go ahead to cut out what I have. So for the zip allowance, I'm just going to blend in this part with my curve. So guys, that is it for the front and the back pattern of the top part of this dress. So that is the bustier part of this dress. Now I'm going to move on to cut out the flare for this dress. So I'm going to be using a 360-degree flare. Now, as you can see, I already have my fabric folded, but the way I folded this is in the 180-degree way. That is because I want it to be 180 at the front and 180 at the back because of the pocket I'll be fixing at the side. And then I also don't want it to have any joinings at the bottom. So I'll be using 180 at the front and 180 at the back, but I'll still be using the same radius of 360-degree flay. So that is the waist divided by 6.28. So that is the radius for a 360-degree flay. So I have my waist as 32 inches divided by 6.28. So altogether I have 5 inches, or 5.1 to 5 inches. So that means I'll be measuring out 5 inches on that part. Now for the folding, to get an accurate folding of this flay, what I did is just to add this 5 inches to the length of the flay, the length of the skirt, that is the length of the dress from the waist to where I want the dress to be. So 5 inches plus 25 inches plus 1.5 inches for allowance. So altogether I have 31.5 inches. That is the way I folded this. So I folded it with 31.5 inches like that. Then I folded it as a triangle. So I'm going to measure out the radius. I already have 5 inches as the radius, so I used 5.125 for the radius, so that is going to, I'm going to have enough for my for the waistline area of the top. So I used 5.125 and then I connected that together. Now after measuring out the radius, I went ahead to confirm my length plus the 1.5 inches. So I have exactly the same thing there. So after confirming that the length is still intact, I decided to measure out from the upper part there to measure out the full length of the skirt. That is the 31.5 inches that I calculated all together. So I'm going to measure that round and then I'll cut it out. So this is it after cutting out. This one is acting as the front pattern, as the front of the dress. So this is the front part of the dress. So I'm going to use this same front part to cut out the back part, but for the back part I'll be adding my zip allowance, which is 1 inch. So guys, this is it for the front and the back pattern of the skirt part. So I decided to notch the midpoint of the front pattern and then the zip part of the back pattern. Now this is the back pattern, this is the back part of the skirt. I'm going to cut out that midpoint area, that middle area. I'm going to cut it out. It is meant to be separate, it's not like the front pattern because of the zip at the back. So for my bustier, that is the front and the back pattern, I'm going to use my pattern paper to cut out on the fabric. So this is what I have. Then I'll be adding all the necessary allowances that I need to add. So for the side seam, I decided to use allowance of 1.5 inches. Then for the others, I used ½ inch. So ½ inch for the bottom, ½ inch for the armhole, and then ½ inch for the curve side. So for the center front of the front pattern, I made sure it is on fold. Then I added ½ inch round for the sewing allowance. So this is what I have after cutting out, and you can see that that part is on fold. Now this is for the back pattern too. I added my allowances, which is the 1.5 at the side seam and then ½ inch round. Then for the zip allowance, I didn't add anything again because I already have my zip allowance there. So guys, this is everything I have concerning this dress. I already have my sleeves, the pocket I'll be using, then the skirts, the front pattern and the back pattern. So in my next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to sew this dress from the beginning to the end. So I already cut out lining 2 for this, lining for the skirt part and lining for the front and the back pattern. So I'm going to see you guys in my next tutorial. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Give my video a thumbs up and also share to your families and to your friends. Thanks for watching guys. Bye.